Final Fight. Such a badass title for an amazing game. It told the iconic tale of Cody, Guy, and Mike Hagar in their battle to rescue the mayor's daughter from the Mad Gear gang. Most fans of the beat-em-up genre hold it in high esteem, and for good reason. While brawlers existed before Final Fight, the 1989 Capcom release was light years ahead of the pack in every department. The sprites were huge, and the level design was much more detailed by comparison. The controls were super tight, and the gameplay was addictive and fun. Final Fight set the bar for future brawlers, and it set it very high. Without it, the Streets of Rage trilogy wouldn't have existed, so for that alone, I'm incredibly appreciative of it. Capcom eventually ported it to the Super Nintendo and Super Famicom, which is how I first experienced the franchise. The 16-bit console versions, which were released in 1991, did an excellent job of packing this juggernaut onto a technologically inferior piece of plastic. In spite of my fond memories associated with the SNES, the fact remains that it's a heavily altered and stripped down port. For starters, Damned and Saddam were renamed Thrasher and Kitana in the US. The graphic violence was toned down for the American market by removing all traces of blood. Furthermore, Poison and Roxy were altered to become Sid and Billy to avoid controversy in the States. The biggest changes were the deletion of the industrial area, the absence of a two-player mode, and Guy, the third playable character, was dropped completely due to cartridge limitations. Capcom did the best that they could in bringing this beast of an arcade experience to the home market, and I applaud them for their effort, but the aforementioned omissions really cut down on the overall enjoyment factor. Capcom later put out Final Fight Guy to make up for the previous lack of the red-clad ninja. This revamp offered some improvements over the original, but it was still far from perfect since Cody was given the axe to include the title star. It seemed as if those who were seeking to replicate the arcade experience in their living rooms would be forever left in utter disappointment. Well, everyone except for Sega CD owners apparently. Sega supposedly got it right, but I can't vouch for that personally since I've never played it. I have, however, played another near-perfect port, and surprisingly, it fits in the palm of my hand. Yes, I'm referring to the pint-sized powerhouse better known as Final Fight 1 for the Game Boy Advance. Released on September 26, 2001, Final Fight 1 is almost the definitive non-arcade representation of this classic title. Almost. Just like the arcade, Cody, Hagar, and Guy are available and ready to kick ass on the character select screen, and the industrial area is retained. On top of this, there's a game link option that allows for multiplayer mayhem. Sweet! However, Final Fight 1 isn't all sunshine and roses. The censorship from the Super Nintendo era still rears its ugly head. There's no blood, and Sid and Billy return to replace Roxy and Poison. Also, the GBA soundtrack, in spite of consisting largely of remixes of the signature tunes, is vastly inferior to its 16-bit older brother. This is evident from the intro cutscene, which contains an entirely original composition. Let's take a closer listen. Here's the SNES song, and here's the GBA. There's no contest. The former is an up-tempo rocker, and the latter is generic rave material. It's not bad, but it's forgettable in comparison to its superior predecessor. Music aside, it's fantastic to finally have the roster intact. Not only that, but this portable entry offers additional features such as difficulty settings ranging from very easy to very hard. Plus, Capcom went above and beyond by including bonus unlockable content like extra lives, a stage selectability, and my personal favorite, the Street Fighter Alpha depictions of Cody and Guy. These two badasses can be chosen by pressing left or right on the select menu. After taking the nostalgia goggles off, it becomes obvious that the GBA put the SNES to shame overall with this particular title. Minus the slightly cropped resolution and my issues with the soundtrack, the Game Boy Advance outperforms its 16-bit predecessor by and large, especially in regards to the controls. The controls in Final Fight 1 are as simple and responsive as its elders. A jumps and B attacks, while pressing A and B together performs the special moves, which are also conveniently mapped to the R button. This helps in eliminating any frustrations from accidentally triggering the move when attacking while jumping. Cody and Hagar maneuver the same as ever, but finally controlling Guy after all these years is a revelation. Guy is quick and nimble, he can leap off of walls, and his punches and kicks are doled out in rapid succession. Guy is a true force of nature. Regardless, Hagar will always be my main. If you've seen my Streets of Rage review, you'll know that I'm usually a fan of the smaller, faster combatants, but Hagar is just hard to resist. I think it's his walk cycle animation. I've never seen anyone walk like that in real life. I guess it makes sense though. Considering how rampant crime is in Metro City, it's no wonder that Mike has to be ready to punch or grab someone at a moment's notice. As I've stated countless times in previous beat-em-up reviews, the personality traits of the trio fit the archetypes of the genre. Mike has a background in wrestling as depicted in Saturday Night Slam Masters, so his specialty is in dishing out backdrops and pile drivers. Cody is a martial arts expert, so his approach is speedier and less powerful than the mayor's, but he makes a perfect middleman. Guy, as mentioned previously, is awesome! Nuff said. In addition to their fists and feet of vengeance, the group has access to helpful items and weapons along their journey. There are the traditional foodstuffs to refill the life meter, gold bars and diamonds which increase the score, temporary invincibility power-ups, and even occasional extra lives. The weapons range from pipes to swords and knives. These blades and instruments of destruction are quite deadly, but only last for a brief duration. That short amount of time can be enough to turn the odds in our favor, which is welcome since Guy, Cody, and Mighty Mike have a tough road ahead of them. After pulverizing the Mad Gear Menace, all of the traditional bosses from the coin-op make an appearance, including Relento, who had been dropped along with the industrial area on the SNES. A new feature that sets Final Fight 1 apart from the rest is the inclusion of cutscenes before each boss battle. Snippets of dialogue are exchanged between the two, and the interactions differ depending on which character is selected. For example, Mike recognizes Damned as the person whom he spoke to on the phone, and Saddam is honored to face a ninja comparable to himself in Guy. The alternate Cody and Guy even have their own storylines, which I find to be the most fascinating of all, but I don't want to spoil them too much. These opponents are fierce, but it's nothing next to the strength possessed by our heroes. With those fearsome foes behind us, we continue our rescue mission. The mayor and his men traverse the mean streets of Metro City, starting from the slums in the subway and then progressing until they reach their last stop, Uptown, and we enter spoiler territory. As always, click on the box art to skip past the spoilers, otherwise we're about to jump to the conclusion. Mad Gear HQ is understandably surrounded by tons and tons of gang members. Dealing with this onslaught of ruffians requires a lot of skill even on lower difficulty settings, so be prepared to become friends with the continue screen. Persevering past the wannabe Andre the Giants and knife flingers will lead to the climactic showdown with Belger. Belger insults the politician's leadership skills and the two tussle for the reins of the local government. Belger scoots around in a motorized chair and shoots a spear gun which has wicked range and can cause massive damage. The first order of business is to break the chair as quick as possible. After that, keep pummeling him in the corner if possible and take out the henchmen as they arrive. Remain cool and calm, and sooner or later, the father and daughter are reunited, and dear old dad vows to never let anything bad happen to Jessica again. The credits roll while Cody and Guy exit to parts unknown. Jessica calls out to her boyfriend. Guy bids farewell to his buddy via a barrage of blows, and Cody explains to Jessica that he wants to stay with her, but can't with all of the gang activity happening. The couple kisses as the stage is set for a future sequel. As should be obvious from the footage seen throughout, Final Fight 1 is what the Super Nintendo should have received all those years ago. It's not a perfect replica of the original cabinet, of course. A number of the changes from the SNES still plague it. The blood is absent, and Sid and Billy replace Roxy and Poison.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
However, these are balanced out by the inclusion of Guy, the industrial area, and the new cutscenes, as well as bonus unlockable sprites from Street Fighter Alpha. There's so much content crammed into one tiny cartridge, and Capcom knocked it out of the park with this conversion. This gets my seal of approval and is a must-own for Brawler fans. Anyway, now that I've filled my need for some virtual hand-to-hand combat, I've got an appearance in the IUPG court to attend to. Come back next week for that, but until then, this is Matt, signing out. Thanks for watching, everyone. Like I said before, come back next week for another episode of Innocent Till Proven Guilty, but until then, you can check out the videos on the screen right now. Now, in the upper left-hand corner, that's the Cygnus Destroyer review of the Streets of Rage trilogy. It's one of my favorite series of all time. Love those games so much, and I had a blast reviewing them. So I figured since I mentioned them so much in this video, I might as well link them in the end card. So there it is. Now, on the upper right-hand corner, that's the last episode of, the latest episode of Innocent Till Proven Guilty on Plumbers Don't Wear Ties for the 3DO. Yes, that game. I covered that, so you probably know of that game's reputation, so what did I think about it? Well, you'll have to watch the video to find out. Now, in the bottom left-hand corner, that is the LJ and Defender episode on the WWF NES games. I figured might as well include that one. That's a good episode. Really good episode. I had a lot of fun making it. It's always good when I can get in Mad Matt form, and I had the epic beard in that, so I think you guys should enjoy that, so check that out. And as always, for anyone who's new to my channel, if you like what you saw and you want to see more, click that red button right there, and that'll subscribe you to the channel, and you'll be able to keep up to date with all my content. So like I said before, come back next week for another Innocent Till Proven Guilty, but until then, I'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye!